The notion that vaccines are necessary for Christians who follow Jesus is a concept that has gained significant attention in recent years. This idea is often rooted in the belief that faith and prayer can provide sufficient protection against illnesses, rendering vaccines redundant. Proponents of this perspective argue that trusting in God's sovereignty and divine healing is more effective than relying on human-made vaccines. However, a closer examination of this stance reveals a complex web of theological, scientific, and practical considerations that warrant careful evaluation. On the one hand, the Bible does emphasize the importance of faith and trust in God's power to heal. Psalm 103:3, for instance, states that God heals all your diseases, while Matthew 9:35 notes that Jesus healed every disease and every affliction. These passages, among others, have led some Christians to believe that vaccines are unnecessary, as they can simply pray for healing and trust in God's providence. Moreover, some argue that vaccines can be seen as a lack of faith, implying that one is relying on human ingenuity rather than divine intervention. On the other hand, the Bible also emphasizes the importance of wisdom, stewardship, and responsible decision-making. In 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, Paul writes that the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and it's us believers to honor God with your body. This passage suggests that taking care of one's physical health is a moral and spiritual imperative, which could include preventative measures like vaccination. Furthermore, the biblical concept of loving one's neighbor, Mark 12:31, could be interpreted as taking steps to protect not only oneself but also others from harm, including the spread of diseases. From a scientific perspective, vaccines have been consistently proven to be safe and effective in preventing the spread of infectious diseases. The overwhelming consensus among medical professionals and researchers is that vaccines have played a crucial role in eradicating or controlling diseases like smallpox, polio, and measles. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) and the World Health Organization have extensively documented the benefits of vaccination, including the reduction of disease outbreaks, hospitalizations, and deaths. In addition, the argument that vaccines are unnecessary for Christians who follow Jesus overlooks the complex interplay between faith, science, and public health. Vaccines are not a replacement for faith, but rather a complementary tool that can be used in conjunction with prayer and spiritual practices to promote health and well-being. By choosing to vaccinate, Christians can demonstrate their love and care for their neighbors, particularly those who are most vulnerable to disease, such as the elderly, and children, and individuals with compromised immune systems. It is also important to consider the potential consequences of not vaccinating. When a significant portion of a community chooses not to vaccinate, it can lead to a decline in herd immunity, making it more challenging to prevent the spread of diseases. This can have devastating consequences, particularly for those who are unable to receive vaccines due to medical reasons or age. By choosing to vaccinate, Christians can help protect these vulnerable individuals and contribute to the overall health and well-being of their community. In conclusion, while the idea that vaccines are unnecessary for Christians who follow Jesus may be rooted in a sincere desire to trust in God's sovereignty, it is essential to consider the complex theological, scientific, and practical implications of this stance. By acknowledging the importance of faith, wisdom, and responsible decision-making, Christians can recognize the value of vaccines as a tool for promoting health, protecting the vulnerable, and demonstrating love and care for their neighbors. Ultimately, vaccines and faith are not mutually exclusive, but rather complementary approaches that can be used in tandem to promote the well-being of individuals and communities.